Welcome to DRB Tunnel Solutions training. In this training, we're going to take a look at customer maintenance from a POS terminal. Let's get started. We're first going to start off with selling a plan from a POS terminal. In order to sell a plan, you'll click the Plans tab to start as one option. You can go ahead and select which plan the customer would like. We have 3 unlimited plans, and we're going to sell the unlimited good, for example, to start. With my current configuration, you will notice that the only required field is a phone number. We're displaying first, middle initial, last name. We're displaying email. We're displaying vehicle information, including year, make, model, color, license plate, and RFID. If you type in the phone number of an existing customer, you'll notice that that customer will be brought up in line. Notice even though there's another member here, we have an unnamed customer. So there could have been a procedure where we sold this customer in the past and didn't update their name. So you could actually click and you'll be brought to that record instead of the new record you're trying to create. We'll go ahead and update the name information. In the event that you're selling a new customer that has a unique phone number, you can go ahead and continue by entering the customer information. Enter the first and last name. However, you can see in this instance it's not required, so we can actually click Add to Cart automatically, but we want to go ahead and add at least one vehicle identifier, a license plate or an RFID. Keep in mind that if you are scanning an RFID, you can click the scan button. It'll activate your barcode scanner and you can scan that RFID into the sale. You can also type an RFID into the sale. And the system will need to make sure and verify that it is a unique RFID that hasn't been used before. You can sell a plan as a multi-vehicle plan to start or a single vehicle plan. Here we're just going to do a single vehicle plan. You'll notice that my Add to Cart button is blue, and that's because I've met all of the required criteria, which was, in this case, just the phone number. We have options that when you click the terms and conditions, you can also sign. However, that's not required for this particular plan, so we'll just go ahead and click Add to Cart. So with the current configuration, we were set up to only require the phone number, and then we can add a plan to the cart. However, keep in mind that configuration, if you don't force some sort of vehicle identifier, then you're not going to properly make sure that this redeems every time. So you have to at least put in one customer identifier. You'll notice that this plan has a first month free. The Redeem Now slider determines whether or not this vehicle will go immediately into the wash queue upon crediting the sale. You'll notice that all tenders are grayed out except credit because we have to capture the credit card for the first purchase. We'll go ahead and click credit. We'll dip our credit card in the reader. And we're going to go ahead and the sale is tendered out and that plan is activated. Now we're going to show you the process of selling a plan to an existing member. You can start on the Customer tab and find an existing non-member record, for example, William here. You can see if there are vehicles, and if we want to resell this vehicle to a plan, it's very simple. We check first to see if they have a payment card on file. If they do not, you can add the card and dip it in. Once it's validated, we'll have that payment card on file, and we can click Add Plan from this menu. You'll notice that we've simplified this menu where you just pick the level of the plan that the customer wants and the vehicle that we want to put it on. For example, if we want to reactivate that Toyota vehicle, then we can go ahead and click Add to Cart. Again, the Redeem Now slider determines whether or not they're in the lane right now and they want to be queued up. And since this was an existing customer, we can click Card on File in order to automatically tender to the card on file that we have for the customer. So selling an existing customer, you can start from the Customer tab, find the customer first, and you can even search and filter for inactive members, folks that have been active in the past but they're no longer active, and you'll see them on the list like this. You'll notice this customer was an active member. They expired at this time. So if we want to re-add a plan, we can update their payment card if necessary and add the plan back to the customer. Now let's take a look at selling a multi-vehicle plan to a brand new customer. We'll pick the plan level. We'll type in a phone number that is unique. You can type in this customer. We're going to give them a simple name so that we can track this. We're going to call it multiple vehicle plan. We're going to put in the details of the first vehicle. The very least that we'll want to put in is a license plate and state. We're going to click Add Another Vehicle to add a second vehicle with a different license plate. And now we have two vehicles. We can go ahead and click Add to Cart. And you'll see that the price has been updated for a two-vehicle plan. The process of selling is click Credit, dip the card, and once it's been tokenized and added to their account for the reloading, that plan is now active. When you sell multiple vehicles to the same plan, you're going to take advantage of what we call multi-vehicle pricing. Let me go ahead and clear out my filters, and I'll go back and I'll search for the multi-vehicle customer. If we scroll down to the plan details, you'll notice that we charge them $90.72, including tax. The price of our best is $44.99 by itself. And the second vehicle would go in at $39.99. The added tax would bring us up to $90.72. And that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing a multi-vehicle pricing discount added for the second vehicle. If you want to add a vehicle to an existing customer, you can first look up the customer. For example, we find our multi-vehicle customer. You can add additional vehicles by clicking Add Another Vehicle and then selecting the details for the new vehicle. I'm going to put in new vehicle, no plan as a license plate so that we can see that this is the new vehicle that doesn't have the plan associated with it yet. You'll notice down in the active vehicles, we have the ABC765 and the FHJ vehicle. And if we want to add a third vehicle to our Unlimited Best plan, we'll go ahead and click the Edit pencil, scroll down, and click the Add Vehicle button. Vehicle 3, which is this new vehicle, no plan license plate that I just set up, will now be added when I click Save. When you add a vehicle, this is going to put in a prorated charge. This would be our $39.99 plus tax, which is our multi-vehicle discount on our $44.99 plan. We'll go ahead and add the charge to the cart, and you can tender it to the cart on file. So we looked at selling multi-vehicle plans from scratch. We looked at adding vehicles to existing plans. Now we're going to take a look at changing the cart on file. You also want to be sure that whenever you go into the customer list, it'll show the last customer that you search for by default. You can always press the Reset View in order to reset your customer view to all your customers. If you want to find that customer again by their name, we could type in part of their name, and once we pull the customer up, we can now perform an action. In this instance, we want to replace the cart on file. This is a two-step operation. You'll notice that we have an existing 4316 Visa plan card, and that is being used for the plan. If we add a second card, for example, 6952, you'll notice that that did not change the 4316 that is used to reload my unlimited plan. So adding the card is step 1 of changing a payment card for a plan. Step 2 would be to hit the Edit pencil and scroll down to the bottom of the plan details. You'll notice that we have the reload details here, which include the old card number 4316. We have to update it with the new 6952 card. We'll go ahead and click Save, and we'll get a receipt to print in that instance saying that the card was updated. When we scroll back down to review, you'll see that the plan is now going to reload on the 1st of next month to the 6952 at this price for the 3 vehicles on the plan. An alternate third step would be to take the old card and remove it from the system. That way, you only have one active plan card on the customer's record at any time. There's no benefit unless you're adding a second plan that charges to a different card in having an additional card on the record. If you did add a card, for example, this 6058, and you added a different plan, maybe a good plan, and you added new vehicle details, you can add it to the cart this way, and since we now have a new card on file, we can use that separate card on file for a separate plan. So it is possible for a single customer to have 2 credit cards, and for one credit card, 6058, to be charging one plan, and another credit card, 6952, to be charging a second plan. Now let's take a look at some plan maintenance topics. If we click our customer list, maybe we're going to find our Robert Severance customer. And this customer has several plans, but the plan with the HDJ 111 vehicle and the ABC 1112 vehicle, they want to discontinue. We'll go ahead and click the name of that customer to bring them up. We'll scroll down and see their active plan. And whenever you want to discontinue a plan, or for most plan operations for that matter, you'll click the edit pencil on an active plan. Here you are given discontinue, suspend, and terminate buttons. Keep in mind the visibility and usage of these buttons is all going to be whether or not your logged in user, in my case, this demo user, if you have the security to perform these functions, these buttons will work. If you don't have security, these buttons will not show as this white pressable state. Discontinuing a plan means that at the end of my plan, when it expires on 4/28, for example, rather than reloading the plan, we're just going to go ahead and expire the plan. So discontinuing is the primary way that people want to cancel plans. They want to continue to use it for the month they've already paid for, and then it would go ahead and expire them afterwards. You can also terminate plans. Let's go ahead and find another customer here. We've got this William McKinley customer. Maybe William would like to terminate his plan. So we'll scroll down to the active plan, the Unlimited Better. We will go ahead and click the edit pencil and we'll click terminate. When your system is set up to offer refunds, you have the ability to turn on or off refunds. If, for example, the customer abused the plan or performed some sort of fraud, you could terminate without a refund, and this would mean that the plan would be deactivated immediately today for those vehicle identifiers. However, if the customer was eligible for a refund, you're able to go back to the initial plan sale date and perform a refund all the way back to the full price, including tax, of that vehicle. When you click confirm, it'll go ahead and refund to the card on file. Another option with a customer that is on an active plan would be that we could take their existing plan and terminate it. This plan is a 5 units plan, and when we terminate it, if the plan is set up to offer refunds, it would give it here. However, in this case, my plan is not set up for refunds, so terminating this would just remove the units from the customer record. When you terminate reloading monthly plans, for example, on this Robert customer here, we'll notice that there's an unlimited best plan here. If we click terminate here, we can go back to the reload date in order to perform a refund. Or you can turn off the refund. Either way, when you click confirm, it will terminate the plan as of today, and the plan can no longer be used. When you terminate plans, keep in mind that if they're multi-vehicle plans, it'll terminate all the vehicles in that plan simultaneously. Let's talk about suspending a plan. Maybe the multi-vehicle customer that we just signed up let us know that September of every year, they go on vacation, and so they don't want to be reloaded on that date. So we'll go ahead and click the customer. We'll scroll down to the plan. The Unlimited Good plan is currently active. It's next going to reload in May. But if we click Suspend, we're able to set a suspension schedule. If they tell us, for example, that they won't be here for September, we can select the September reload and tell the system to resume on October. This means that it will go ahead and not reload and not work for the month of September. It'll resume charging and working in October. The suspend function was used quite a bit during the pandemic when folks were not going out and using plans. This way you can keep the plan active, keep the card on file, and have the system automatically resume. If you go ahead and select a plan suspension schedule and click Save, it'll tell you that the plan is suspending. At any time before we hit that date, when you click Reactivate, it just cancels the suspension, period. Maybe you put it in error, you can also reactivate it. So they only wanted just the month of September. I inadvertently put 2 months in there. So now this is the schedule that we want. Skip September, reload me on October. We'll go ahead and click Save. And now we have a suspension schedule set up for that customer. If they come back in before the suspension, every vehicle redemption is going to work just fine. If they come in between 9/1 and 10/1 when we're not charging them and they drive up to our XBT, the system will say, your plan is currently under suspension. Do you want to resume? And if they say yes, it'll charge them the prorated cost for the rest of the month. If they say no, they can just purchase a standard wash at that time. So the system will automatically suspend and automatically resume. Or if the customer comes to your pay station, they can select to resume the plan before the normal suspension would have run out. I do want to point out that if you do terminate a plan, the reasons that you select, moved, not using, other, too expensive, these are customizable. So let's go ahead and take a side trip and take a look at the customization reasons in the portal. Here's the Patheon portal. If you scroll down to the customization section, there's a section here called Reason Management. You'll click on the Termination tab, and these are those 4 reasons that we had for terminations. Maybe other is too generic. So not moved, or moved, not using, too expensive. Maybe we want something like bad customer service experience. We want to track that, but we don't necessarily want to track other. We added a new reason, and we're going to remove the other reason. Now we have 4 reasons still, but one of them is a new bad customer experience. Let's go ahead and flip back to the terminal, and let's see what happens when we go to terminate now. We have the new reason showing up that we can select. We'll go ahead and confirm the termination. There are different search methods for finding existing customers. By default, you're going to be searching the customer's name. However, you may want to search for phone number. And return the customer that way. You may want to search for the last 4 digits of the credit card and find customers that may have that as the last 4 digits. You may also want to search for an RFID number or a license plate. And there's my customer there that has ABC1 as part of the license plate. However we find the customer, you'll want to make sure that you hit the Reset View button if you want to reset the view so that the next person to come in here has a completely unfiltered list. Let's go ahead and bring our multi-plan, multi-vehicle customer back up. We're going to scroll down and see which plans are active. We currently have an unlimited best plan that is active to 3 vehicles. Maybe the customer does like the fact that they have 3 vehicles that are washing, but they want to switch to a different level. Instead of unlimited best, they want to switch to a lower level. You can hit the edit pencil next to any one of the vehicles, and switching plans is very simple. You just pick the new plan level. If you're going down, typically when you do that, you will have to do a couple things. One is you will have to accept the new, I will be charged this much per vehicle per month. You'll need to accept the new criteria. And if you are going from one level to another, typically the lower level has a cheaper price, so you may be offered a refund for the rest of the month. If you're going up a level, you're going to be made to pay and add a charge to the sale where they can pay the difference. We'll go ahead and click refund, and we've now downgraded the customer to a lower plan automatically. Since we had their card on file, they didn't have to pull anything out of their pocket. We just changed it to the right level. This would also be the process if you inadvertently sell someone on the same day to the wrong level. Just merely go to the plan that was active and select the right plan. We're going to go back up, for example, from better to best. Keep in mind that the save button is not active until you scroll down and accept the new terms and conditions. In this instance, we now need to add this as a charge to the cart, and we can pay with the card on file. So switching plans, find the customer, click the edit pencil on the plan, and select the new plan level. From time to time, the customer may need to update an RFID tag on a vehicle. So we're going to go back to our customer list here. We're going to find an RFID customer like this test plan customer. This customer does have an active plan, and this active plan has an RFID on it of this. When you click the edit pencil, you can type in or scan by pressing the scan button a new RFID tag. Once you update the RFID number, you'll click Save, and it will print you a receipt saying that a RFID update was done to this plan. Keep in mind, when you have an RFID on an active plan, that is the way to update it. To update a license plate on an active plan, we'll bring up this test plan customer here, and you'll notice that this vehicle is currently on an active plan, an unlimited good plan. We'll click the edit pencil, and you'll notice that I can't update the vehicle from here. So the process of RFID updating is edit the plan. The process of updating a license plate, however, would be to edit the vehicle itself. For example, if they got a new vanity plate, we can update the existing vehicle. So if it's same vehicle but new plate, this is how you would do it. And now when we look at the existing plan, the license plate is updated. So updating the FastPass tag, edit the plan. Updating the LP, you edit the vehicle. If they switch their vehicle completely, you would need to add a second vehicle by clicking Add Another Vehicle. Maybe they got a brand new vehicle. Which has a different license plate. We'll go ahead and save that. And switching a vehicle, now that we have the second vehicle added, would be edit the plan, select the vehicle that they're currently using, and update it with the new vehicle. The system will ask you, do you want to remove the vehicle at the next reload or remove it automatically? And this is really, if the customer is replacing their vehicle, like they purchased a new vehicle, you would remove it immediately, in which case it would actually give you a refund back that would match today's charge. We're lucky that we've actually sold them into a free plan for the first month, so there is no change in vehicles for that time period. However, if we were replacing a vehicle mid-month or it was normally charged, removing it immediately would mean the total due would be 0. and it would remove the old car and replace it with the new car in one step. If you say remove at next reload, it'll treat you like a 2-vehicle plan until 5.1, and then it would remove the vehicle or expire the vehicle that we don't want anymore. So either one of those may be eligible. If a customer says, hey, if I want to watch this car that I've already paid for, but I want to go ahead and update and add a new car before then this would be the way to do it to remove the vehicle at the next reload. Go ahead and click confirm, and we're done. You can search for reloads by customer by going to the sales history and clicking the automatic reload tab and just typing the name of the customer. You can see when the reloads happen and the date and times. If you click the edit pencil, you can also print reload receipts if the customer needs them for their records. You can also find history of a customer by looking up the customer and then scrolling down to the bottom of their list. You'll see all the transactions here. And here we have that same reload transaction, which we can click the edit pencil and print the receipt that way. So you can find reload transactions on sales history or by going into the customer's full transaction history. Finally, I want to make sure that you're aware that when you're using a SAL, semi-attended lane terminal, and you have the SAL mode turned on, that you typically will just have to be at the sales page, and your customers will be automatically identified each time they come in. From time to time, if you click the customer tab and you're doing work on the customer, what that will do is it will turn off the reader. So you'd have to hit a button that's up at the top here that would say activate reader if someone pulls into your lane. So on the customer tab, you have an activate RFID reader or activate LP reader that will pop up if you are in a terminal that has reader hardware and the customer pulls into the lane and you are in a different page where the automatic entry does not happen. You can press that button. Finally, there's a process for finding customers. Maybe they purchased at an XPT or another terminal and they haven't updated their customer record yet. You can search for customers that have the name kiosk, or it may put something like test credentials. Like, for example, this is a card zero test. If you actually had a live processor, it may say a generic name like Visa card holder if it was unable to pull off a name off of the credit card. It may say Visa card holder. It may say something else. But so you can search for Visa card holder, kiosk, or unknown. And when you search for unknown or Visa card holder, you can update that card or that customer information or find them very quickly to see that these were plans that were either sold online or sold at the XPT and we didn't capture the name for whatever reason. Finally, I do want to mention that the sales process can be customized for your organization. You may remember that when I was selling, the only required field was the phone number. However, if I want to make sure that I capture a name every time, I can require the name. And if I want to make sure I at least capture a license plate, if I'm a license plate and RFID site, I will maybe make the plate something that's required. And maybe I don't want to capture something like email, or I want to capture something additional like address. I can customize all those things. First, let's take a look at the customization section of the portal. We're now going to take a look at the customization section of the portal. You may notice that there's a plan sales section here, and we can customize the experience on desktop terminals or tablets. Since we are on a desktop-based terminal, I'm going to go ahead and make the changes I mentioned. I'm going to make the name a required field so that we absolutely make sure that we're typing in a new name every time they come in. Next, I want to make sure that I hide the email because I don't want to capture that. But I want to display and not require the address because I may want to send a postcard and I may want to capture that. I also do want to change the license plate to a required field as well. And maybe I don't necessarily need the year, make, model, and color. Maybe I just want the year and color of the vehicle or the year and make of the vehicle. I can always hide or display anything I want to show or require. Maybe I'll just require the color and show everything. We'll go ahead and click Save. So I've customized it to require the name, the phone number, the license plate, and now the color of the vehicle as well. And I'll go ahead and flip back over to my terminal. I'll now click off and back to the sales tab and reinitiate a sales process. And you'll see now that I've updated to show that those fields are now required: color, license plate, name, and phone number. And it's now showing an address field that was suppressed before, and it's removed the email address field. So you can customize this screen to be as long or short as you like, but keep in mind, in any way that you do it, it will make it so that those required fields show up, and they need to be filled out before the Add to Cart button will be active. Lastly, I showed you that your plans, terms and conditions don't have to be reviewed. You should always review these with the customer if you're in front of them. But if you want to force the customer to sign, for example, on a tablet or another terminal, that's actually set up on the plan setup. And we cover this in the plan setup lesson, but I do want to show that to you here as well. We'll go ahead and go back to our configuration. We'll go to our plan configuration. And maybe for our most expensive membership plan, we'll want them to sign. So we'll go to the best plan, and we'll click the edit pencil on the best plan. And the question for requiring a signature, we're going to change to yes for our best plan. We'll go ahead and click continue, continue, and save. And now anywhere where we sell that plan, that is a required field. So let's go ahead back to the active sales, and we're going to start this process again. We're going to sell that best plan. We're going to put in the required fields. We're going to put in the name of the customer. We're going to scroll down to the other required fields, like the color of the vehicle and the license plate. And you'll notice that there's now a continue button rather than the add to cart button. When you click continue, it forces you to sign, and you have to have a valid signature before you can add the vehicle to the cart. So the add to cart gets replaced with continue, and you're forced to pass through the signature page. This would be good on a tablet or a customer-facing terminal if you're selling and you want to collect that signature. We'll go ahead and click credit, dip the payment card, and now we have that card on file for the plan, and the plan is now paid for. And that's customer maintenance on a POS terminal. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please send them to training@drb.com.